Hello everybody, my name is Adam Lusek, and today I'm going to be going over my current project, which I've called PulseRead. It is a two-part project. The first is an exercise in web scraping social media comments from the 6 main social media platforms of interest for me, and then the second part is running those through multiple steps of analysis via language models. So to start, let's talk about the actual web scraping capabilities. I have this set up to work with, as I mentioned, the 6 platforms that I really care about. That's Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, and LinkedIn. I chose to not use Facebook because that's not really of much interest right now in sort of influencer landscapes and also marketing landscapes. So that is why I chose to use these. But I had to approach actually getting the comments from these threads a little bit differently for each platform. So let's jump right into the demonstrations of how that works. To start, for something like Twitter, I actually take advantage of Selenium, which will navigate for me through the Twitter interface to actually pull up this thread and then run through and grab the comments here. So we can watch that actually operate in real time as it loads and then starts to scroll down and grab these, and then we're on to the wonderful Discover More tab of Twitter. As we can see, it then spits those out into this nice index dictionary here. It mentions that there were 10 comments actually in this thread, but if we count, there's really only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are showing up, and we managed to pull these 7 out. YouTube, on the other hand, is a whole lot nicer to work with because we're able to use Google's API and the YouTube Data API version 3 to literally just pop in the link, and then there's 54 comments here. Indexed at 0 up to 53 means there's 54, so we can see that it is pulling all of those comments super easy. Instagram, however, is a little bit of a mix between an API and web scraping. Someone put together this package called InstaLoader that does a lot of that scraping on the back end, and putting it all through that takes a second to do what you sort of just saw with Twitter, but in the background to pull these comments. So after a few seconds there, we see that we were able to pull 66 comments from this thread here. Great. TikTok, again, follows much similar to Twitter in that they don't let you get this data very easy. So when we run through here, we open up another instance of Chrome via Selenium, log in. There's always a fun CAPTCHA here that we get to complete. But once that's through and solved, and we log in, I will pass forward.
What does VPN stand for? Support network.
And then I have the desktop sound turned off, but I can still hear it, so I'll pause that. But you can see it going through and actually loading all of these comments. It'll scroll all the way down until they're all loaded, and then it clicks all of the sort of expand replies, additional replies threads to get all that. It says we have about 168 comments here, and as you can see, sort of scrolling around, loading all that jazz. And then once it finally remembers that it's supposed to save these comments, we see here that we pulled 167. So almost perfect. There's probably 1 or 2 comments in there that are either filtered out by TikTok themselves, or one of the other limitations of this program is that it's not great at actually pulling non-Latin alphabet languages. So things like Cyrillic, Tamil, Hindi, Arabic, it doesn't really pick up very well on, but you can see it does actually get the Unicode expression of things like emojis. So that worked not too bad. Let's run through the final 2 platforms. Reddit here is also super easy in that you can set up a bot in the back end to pretty much just run through these comments. So there's 238 comments. we managed to pull 240. So must be a few there that they're actually not showing. However, the back end does not lie, so we got all those out. And then finally, LinkedIn, running through this, we once again have to take advantage of Selenium web scraping, open up an instance. Every once in a while, there's a CAPTCHA that'll show up here. Looks like we didn't get it, so I'll just pass through this, say that that's all good. And then you'll see once again, it'll load the most recent and then go through, click all the buttons and expand all the threads until all of the comments have been taken out. So 27 comments. We went up to 26 from 0, so that's 27 comments, and it's working great. So that's a quick overview of the actual web scraping capabilities. Now let's shift gears and talk about the analysis portion. So now that I've got all of the analysis stuff pulled up, let's talk a little bit about the 4 stages of analysis that I actually run these comments through. So as we saw, it spits out this list of comments, and then what do we want to do with it? So I approached that with 4 main ideas. The first is actually a sentiment analysis. So it'll go through comment by comment and put together a sentiment, positive, negative, or neutral on what it thinks this this comment is displaying. Then it runs through 3 different steps. It'll look at the themes and discuss and summarize sort of the different themes that are going on within these comment discussions. It'll then look at commonalities of the comments. So it'll group together similar comments that are talking about similar things. And then, of course, there's an overall analysis that it runs through. This is all done using LangChain and OpenAI's models. For the sentiment analysis, I'm actually using 3.5 Turbo. And the reason I'm using 3.5 Turbo is just to cut down on costs, because I have to spit a whole sentiment analysis plus the comment and get the input, get the output for every single comment here. And that token consumption can add up. So just for the sake of cost, I'm using GPT 3.5 Turbo for the actual sentiment analysis. However, the rest of it is using the current latest model as of today, which is January 29th, which would be GPT-4 Turbo. It then runs through, builds the sentiment, runs through the analysis, and then using the docx Python package, we'll put it all together into a quick Word document to summarize all of that. So let's see that actually happen in action. So I put together both the web scraping functionality and this analysis functionality into one big file that is about 700 lines of code long. And let's look at our candidate for analysis. So I chose this poll from Cisco Systems that's talking about what is the #1 enabler of innovation. And the reason I chose this one is because people talk a lot about sort of different ideas. They talk a little bit about their frustrations, what they're interested in, what they think is useful, what they think is unuseful. So it could be useful for someone who's working in marketing, who's looking to sort of either further uncover different themes or further look into the discussions going on in these polls to run it through a program similar to mine. So to start this out, we'll do the classic web scraping that we've seen already. It'll go ahead and log into all of my credentials, and we'll navigate over to the page. There we go. And then we'll see that it extracted the comments in about 23 seconds. Pulling those comments up, we can see that there was 38 comments. We got all 38 here. All wonderful. This guy was talking a lot. Here on number 10. And so then right now it will be putting together this sentiment analysis. So, and then after the sentiment analysis, of course, it will be going over all of the other analyses and then putting it into a Word document. So I will be back when it finishes up with that. Great. So after about 141 seconds, it ran through all four of the different analyses that we just went over. The first one was, of course, this sentiment analysis. It takes this comment JSON and then reformats it a little bit to just be more pleasing on the eye with the different comment index, the text, and then the sentiment. This, of course, was using GPT 3.5 Turbo. And one of the limitations here, I feel, is that it doesn't have the giving context of what the post is actually about. It doesn't have the context of the other comments. So it's just looking at the text and then saying whether it's positive, neutral, or negative. So it might not be the best sentiment analysis. However, it does put this all together. And then the actual other analyses are output into this wonderful Word document file. And going into this, we can see how this is formatted. Automatically puts in that's a LinkedIn post, bit about my project, the URL, the actual statistics. So we can see that we had 38 comments, 18 of which it pulled positive sentiments, 14 of which were neutral, and then 6 of which it said were negative. The first major analysis then that it goes through is this discussion themes analysis, where it'll pull, and it looks like it pulled 10 different themes that were seen or brought up among the comments. Things like humility as a catalyst for innovation, empowerment, autonomy, necessity, creativity, creative freedom, time management, pulling from the discussions within the comments. Digging a little bit deeper, it goes into this commonality analysis where it'll pull different topics and then give the examples of the actual comments that are all describing this. So it pulled things like the importance of a problem to solve and then gave the examples of the 3 comments where they're talking about this. Freedom and creativity, role of leadership, necessity of a diverse team. There you go. The concept of necessity of driving innovation. So some of these could be useful. Some of these could be not as such. However, then the final analysis is this overall analysis. So it'll give an overall reaction from the comments, things like key themes, bit of a consensus, some of the discussion insights that they go into, a lot of the themes and the commonalities that we saw earlier, things like leadership and empowerment, problem solving, diversity. And then finally, I have it spit out some recommendations for future posts of how to tweak sort of similar content to better engage with sort of the audience here. Give some interesting ideas here. Things like highlighting stories of innovation, engaging on topics of diversity, educational content, and things like that. Finally, goes through and just lists out the comments here and their sentiments, followed by a disclaimer that this is all processed using language models, which should not be taken at face value. It should be verified independently if any of this information is to be used in any situations. Great. So did all that in about 2 minutes from, or well, if we add in the 23 seconds, about 3 minutes from link to different analysis. So just to briefly talk about sort of the replicability of results here. As we all know, language models are not great at putting out the exact same thing time and time again. So I ran this report a few times and we'll just highlight sort of what it looks like from report to report to see how these things change. It actually is able to pull a lot of the same themes that it discussed, 10 and 10, but talks about them a little bit differently. And maybe there's some here and there that aren't exactly the same. I mean, we've got like cross-disciplinary application versus cross-industry application, role of technology and tools, whereas like I'm not really seeing a role of technology and tools here, but it's pulling a lot of the same things, but just talking about it differently. Commonalities are actually pretty similar, I'm seeing here. Leadership and supportive environment, role of leadership, freedom and creativity, importance of problem solving or need to improve, importance of a problem, necessity of a diverse team versus just like diverse team and collaboration. All good stuff there. And then the overall analysis, leadership, freedom, diversity. So it's pulling a lot of the same things, which is good to see. It's just running this through multiple times will give a better holistic, full understanding of what's actually being discussed. So it's not necessarily 100% reliable on getting exactly the same results every single time, but this can certainly be used to guide someone into looking into more interesting or things that they haven't thought of when they're doing the analysis themselves. Awesome. So that is my demonstration of version 1.0 of PulseRead. Hopefully there will be updates to come, and there's plenty of room for improvement, so hopefully there will be improvements to come. But thank you for watching, and hope this spurred some thoughts, ideas, and innovation and excitement of your own. Thank you.